Hi, Floppers. Before we start this episode, I just wanted to remind you we are in the middle of Flop TV Season 2. That's right, the 1-hour internet televised Flophouse TV show is here for you the first Saturday of every month through February. Just go to theflophouse.simpletix.com and get your tickets or season pass for this all-new Flophouse TV stuff. We're covering movies we've never covered before. We've got video segments. It's amazing. Just go to theflophouse.simpletix.com for Flop TV Season 2. This time, it's personal.
On this episode, we discuss Spice World, live from Oxford, England!
USA, USA. Oh no. Wrong audience. You can talk to the most liberal, progressive audience in the United States. If you start chanting USA, it's like a switch flips in their brain and they can't stop it.
That's the beauty of having 3 initials in your country name.
Yeah.
There's many wonderful things about the UK, but it doesn't have the same rhythm.
Okay. Calm down, sir.
This is an interesting hobby horse for Dan that I was not aware of ahead of time.
We've got to take a heel turn in the second show.
And now at the end of local news, a local citizen will have a chance to express his editorial. How come countries don't all have 3 initials? Won't somebody step in and stop this?
Hey, everyone, and welcome to the Flophouse. I'm Dan McCoy.
I'm Stuart Wellington.
I'm Elliot Kalin. Thank you.
You got him back. This is a podcast where normally we watch a bad movie and then we talk about it. Tonight, however, we watch Spice World.
And we're about to talk about it.
Yeah. Stuart, I believe you have the reins for this one.
Now, before we get into the plot of Spice World, which is dense and layered, did you guys see this movie?
I think Tom Stopper did a rewrite on this one. Yeah.
Did you guys see this movie when it first came out? Did you see it in the theater?
I didn't see it in the theater. I definitely watched it on home video because I liked the Spice Girls.
Okay. Some movies Dan preferred to watch alone at home with no one else in the room. Yes, I did. I saw it at the time. Elliot, though, I believe, saw it for the first time. My first
yesterday.
Viewing of it was last night when we watched it en masse as a group. That's Latin for with mass. We all have physical being. I'd never seen, when it first came out, I was not a Spice Girls fan. I just wasn't into that stuff. As I said to Dan's wife last night, when I was a teenager, my girl group was Elastica. And she said, who?
No, I loved Elastica.
Yeah, they're great. But they stole that one song. But what are you gonna do? Anyway, so I had not seen it before. The Spice Girls were to me a gimmick, nay, a joke. But now the scales have fallen from mine eyes, and I finally see not through a glass darkly, but through a spice clearly. It's almost as if I can now see through space and time thanks to a totally different spice on a totally different Spice World.
So you're saying you spiced up your life?
I did spice up my life. They commanded every boy and every girl to spice up their lives, and I said, I'm a boy. I've got to do it.
Yeah, you're no longer a wannabe. Okay, that was labored, I admit. So I didn't see this at the time either. I wasn't I was a teenager. I wasn't a big Spice Girls fan at the time. I think part of it is that watching it, I feel like it's a movie that works better now almost.
Yes, I agree.
And I would say that at the time I didn't realize it, but I feel like the Spice Girls were not male gazy in the way that I think I had expected pop stars to be.
Their boobs are falling out of their shirt a lot.
I don't know. I feel like they're sexy. As my wife was describing it, sexy more for a teenage girl than for a...
They're like aspirationally sexy.
Yeah.
Like you want to be a Spice Girl rather than be with a Spice Girl. Eminem can't decide which one he wants to impregnate, but But for most guys, yeah. But I think there's the controversial thing I'll say about this movie. I think this movie, comedy-wise, is about 10 years ahead of its time. Like, that's the time when this movie came out. What was a hit comedy? Was like Something About Mary, you know, which is it's like gross, embarrassing, Whereas this movie is like random, non sequitur. You like that joke? Forget about it. It's gone. On to the next one.
Yeah.
Which is like that's comedy now. You know, they saw it way ahead of time. I mean, it's also comedy like 30 years earlier too. So.
And I also think when you're saying it plays better now, part of that too is at the time, critics at least were probably like, this is a package thing that is like they're trying to shove this down. Like, why do the Spice Girls have a movie? Whereas now it's just like, yeah, I remember the Spice Girls. I like them. You know, like there's like a little more perspective on it where it's not like clouded by this idea of like weird authenticity.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, and also the fact that when you turn on the radio now, one, what are you doing? Nobody listens to the radio anymore. But two, you don't hear the Spice Girls. So when this came out, it was like the world. We were living in a Spice world. It was everywhere.
I do like your critic voice opens with a That's just like that's some shorthand for like don't whatever I say, just discount it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Spice World the movie opens with we get some credits, and what a cast! In addition to the Fab Five, that's right, the Spice Girls. We have, everybody's in this movie.
Everybody in the world is in this movie.
You got Richard E. Grant, you got Alan Cumming, you got Roger Moore, you got George Wendt.
Mark McKee, Barry
Norm.
Humphries. Consider this is a movie. This is a Spice Girls movie. It does not need to have one of the kids in the hall, Dame Edna, not as Dame Edna, and Riff Raff from Rocky Horror in it, but they're all in it.
Yes. Okay.
And Richard E. Grant has so much screen time. It's fantastic. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, he's great. And so the movie opens with a performance by the Spice Girls. There's many of them.
Who are they?
Well, we have Mel C, Mel B, Emma, Jerry, and Victoria.
Okay.
Did it.
Okay.
And their
Like I can
personas.
rest.
Now their personas, Stuart.
We got Baby, Posh, Scary, Sporty, and Ginger. Thank God.
You did it. You did it.
I mean,
Sorry, I get distracted. Sporty's my favorite. I've said this before, but Sporty's my favorite.
Sporty is. It's hard not to have Sporty as your favorite. I feel.
I do think that this movie best serves the Spice Girls who have like a clear bit, you know, where it's like,
okay,
it's like Sporty or Baby, like there's like a thing to hang your hat on. Like I feel like Jerry struggles more because it's like, well, her bit is she has red hair.
Well, so they give her the characteristic of she's always spewing trivia, like factual trivia, and it's a weird thing for them to do. I guess she's supposed to be like the brainy Spice, but also at least one of her trivia facts is wrong, and I'm not sure if that's supposed to be a joke or not. So it got me so mad. I was almost as mad as I was during Stuart's erroneous dinosaur presentation. Was when I was watching it, and she's like, you know, the manta ray is the biggest fish, and I'm like, the whale shark is the biggest fish, Jerry. Ginger Spice, what are you teaching the girls of the world?
Yeah, Elliot was squirming in his seat. Okay, not for the same reason Dan was squirming in his seat. So, in the credits, it does say, based on an idea by the Spice Girls, which is great. Fuck yeah, everything.
The idea seems to be, we're the Spice Girls.
Yeah. Okay, so it opens with like a performance in like a dinner club or a supper club. They got a band, they play one of their songs. We get a little bit of a taste of who they are. Sporty has some amazing solos, I love it. Okay, afterwards, the girls are rushing to their tour bus through the halls. They are accompanied by their manager, Richard E. Grant Clifford, who wears a lot of really great, colorful, like monochromatic suits, and he has a soul patch that does a lot of acting.
There was a period of time I was attempting to get an outfit to dress like Richard E. Grant for the show. I like.
You should get it just for normal life, Dan.
Yeah. There's a cheap green suit that I was having delivered to me because that was that was like the most doable one, because like the first Richard E. Grant, I'm like, what did he wear? And the first picture that came up was like a leather jacket with a leather tie. And I'm like, I don't think that's a look I could do.
A powerful but smelly outfit.
Yeah.
Okay, the girls all, they say hi to Elton John. They rush past a documentary crew that is following them, led by Alan Cumming.
This is one of the few things that I feel like the movie fails to reach the potential of, is that Richard E. Grant and Alan Cumming on the screen together. It never achieves the sparks and the action, the high intensity acting that I want it to, of two indelible personalities slamming against each other. I think because Alan Cumming his character is a character who keeps getting, pies in the face metaphorically. So I want to see the two of them argue at some point. Maybe dance. Didn't happen.
Yeah, so he's like...
And also, he has superpowers. I don't know why he's not just teleporting all over the place.
That's the thing, yeah. So throughout the movie, he and his film crew are chasing the Spice Girls around, trying to get footage, and it doesn't really matter, nor is it really jokey.
No, yeah.
It's kind of weak. It's too bad. I feel like there's wasted potential, but that's fine. So I feel like a lot of things, it's like, no, don't worry about it. Just keep going. Just like when Elton John wanders in and they're like, he has 2 seconds to film. So kiss him and get the fuck out of there.
What's so funny about it is they have the real Elton John, and most of the scene is with his back to the camera. And I don't think it's because they used a stand-in. I think they were like, we'll get the Spice Girls first, then we'll get the reverse shot with Elton. And halfway through the Elton shot, he was like, gotta go.
Okay, so they board their bus. They're in a double-decker Union Jack draped bus that is larger on the inside than the outside, and a phenomenon that's never been explored in British entertainment before. So, and we get like an idea of their like personalities and their quirks. Sporty is like on a bike or like kicking a football. Sorry, shit. They're talking about astrology, and I'm like, what sign is each girl?
You unmasked yourself as an American.
I know.
You could get arrested for doing that.
I know. Okay, and we learn at this point the ticking clock of the movie, and that's that they have a show coming up at Albert Hall, which I think I am inferring is a big deal.
Well, yeah, you are it is a major venue. Yeah,
I know that it takes a lot of holes to fill it. That's
not as many as you think. They know how many. Yeah.
And how do you get there? Practice. Come on.
Yeah, it's the same directions to get to Carnegie Hall as Albert Hall, or all halls, really. The halls of medicine, yeah.
They built them on the same Indian burial ground. That's the practice.
Dan, I don't know if you know about the history of England, but there's not a lot of Native Americans.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we cut over to George Wendt and Mark McKinney, who are, I guess, film producers who see them performing on TV and or see them doing an interview preparing for their show, and they realize, you know what, there's something here. These girls have got it. Let's come up with a movie pitch.
We can sell a movie with the Spice Girls. And Mark McKinney is, I think, the writer of the two, and he's wearing a Harvard shirt, which is a very funny touch. I feel like that's someone who knows screenwriters. They all went to Harvard, and they all want to tell you about it all the time.
Okay, so the Spice Girls are practicing for their show. They're doing a rehearsal, and it is interrupted by the arrival of their pregnant friend, Nicola, who is not a Spice Girl, and I was not familiar with her before this, but she seems like she's part of the gang who has gotten kind of pushed out of it due to life or having a baby. So the girls kind of cluster around her. They talk about it. Then they have a dream sequence where they imagine what they'd be like if they were mums. Mm-hmm. And there's a couple of these sequences throughout the movie where the camera gets all swirly, and that's basically your cue to see a really good bit.
Yeah. Whenever something like this happened, I'm like, ooh, great, because like the whole movie is padding, but in the best way possible. Nothing is relevant, so everything is beautiful.
It's essentially a sketch movie. Like I think at a certain point they were like, people really care about the plot of a Spice Girls movie. And the people who. The director, I know at least of this, was a longtime television comedy director. Like, he did the second series of Fawlty Towers, and he did most of Absolutely Fabulous. So it's like, I think and he did a lot of comic strip also. And so it's like, look, let's just do jokes. Like, this is what we're doing. And so I really like that they embrace that sketch aspect. I also think, again, it's not something that is presented as a joke, but it is very funny, the idea that a band has a best friend.
Well, and she's like their collective best friend.
They're all her best friend, and she treats them like one undifferentiated mass. that is all her best friend. And she walks in pregnant, and they're like, hi, and they break up rehearsal. And I remember I'm like, I don't know the Spice Girls mythology, but is this like a character? Or they're like, is she mentioned in the albums? Like, what is...
It's great, if you get the action figures, it's like, oh, this is the accessory. The Spice Girl's best friend.
Yeah.
Which is the pregnant Barbie? Thank you, it's Midge. Okay, so, and we learned that there's an element of like the Spice Girls worrying that they're losing touch with their pregnant friend who has also been abandoned by the baby's father.
They don't go too deeply into that, which is probably the right choice for a Spice Girls movie.
Okay, so back on the tour bus, the girls are starting to kind of push back against the roles that they've been assigned by their names and interests. They want to be known as more than just the sporty one, because Sporty also likes other things. So that carries on to a photo shoot where they are being photographed by a photographer played by Dominic West from The Wire, which was really cool. And they decide to change it up, and then they dress like each other. I thought this was pretty fun, and not as racist as I was expecting it to get.
I also enjoyed, you see this in a lot of movies, but I felt like it was especially underlined here that like every time they did a freeze frame, it's like, that would have been a terrible photo. That's the one they picked?
Yeah.
I don't know much about the real life Spice Girls. But the impression I get from the movie is they either are very good at faking enjoying being around each other, or they do like being around each other. I don't know which it is. I don't want to know which it is. It's like Schrodinger's cat. I don't need to know if it's alive or dead, you know.
But I think that it almost doesn't matter at this point. Like, it feels like it's sold. Afterwards, they go to a press party with a few more British celebrities.
Big celebrity cameos. Should we talk about the cameos that didn't make it into the film? Because there are a lot of cameos in the movie, but there are a few cameos that were cut from the film before release. Should we talk about those now?
Yeah, why not?
Sure. Two big ones. There was apparently at least one scene with Gianni Versace, who unfortunately was murdered between the filming and the release. And so they cut his
Unrelated to the movie.
Unrelated, not because he was in Spice World. That was not the case of the Spice World killer.
Baby tracked him down.
Yeah. And of course, there was a cameo by Gary Glitter, who was brought up on charges between filming and release, and that was cut from the release of the film,
Oh.
So when you put a lot of cameos in your movie, you are dancing on a knife edge. You don't know what's gonna happen.
Okay, so at this press party, their friend Nicola shows up, their collective best friend Nicola shows up.
Still pregnant.
They kind of, they're a little bit too busy to spend time with her, so she ends up leaving and they feel bad. I feel like I've missed a very important thing. The Spice Girls at this point have become so popular that they've drawn the negative attention of the local trade, the magazine, the Daily Event.
The tabloid.
It's a tabloid newspaper.
Yeah.
Where the evil tabloid owner enlists his, number one fixer, played by Jason Fleming, and they bring in the ultimate paparazzo, named Damien, played by Richard O'Brien from the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
And the editor is Barry Humphries, who's playing that. Yeah.
Wait, who plays the editor?
The editor is Barry Humphries, better known as Dame Edna, but not being Dame Edna in this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
who's Australian?
They have decided they need to ruin the Spice Girls, and they'll stop at nothing to do it. And all of a sudden, it starts raining in the office. It's kind of great.
And I also love how capricious this is, because it doesn't seem like there's any particular reason they want to ruin the Spice Girls, other than there's a spinning newspaper where the headline's just Spice Girls.
He has as much reason to destroy the Spice Girls as J. Jonah Jameson has to destroy Spider-Man.
Yes. Yeah. Although he brings
Spice Girls. Spider-Man. Sometimes words sound alike.
One thing I love about the editor's performance is how much he spits all the time. It's like he's fucking Denethor chomping on cherry tomatoes. I love it. Okay, so that's all kind of going on in the background, and at this press party, they get lured. Alan Cumming lures them into some questions for his documentary, one of which involves the Pope. And Jerry makes a comment about, is the Pope Catholic? And that leads to some bad press, where they publish a headline that the Spice Girls are questioning whether or not the Pope is Catholic. And obviously there's a minor uproar that doesn't seem to affect anyone other than Richard E. Grant.
Yeah.
Just makes him very stressed out.
Yeah.
Richard E. Grant, is very stressed through the entire movie, and I love the fact that he seems to be taking license of like, okay, I'm in Spice World. This means I can fulfill my dream of acting as hard as I ever have. Like, he is going for it in a beautiful way. And
Yeah, would you say this is a small performance from him, or?
His name is Richard Enormous Grant.
I read this article where Richard E. Grant was reminiscing about it that I sent to you guys as well. Mm-hmm. And he has so much affection for doing this, and I was so charmed by how much affection. And I was thinking about, like I love a thing that I think is very characteristic of British actors, where it's like, we think of England like actors having so much training, so much theater in their background, but they also just love being like, yeah, it's a job, you're gonna pay me, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And I love that. Like, it's so beautiful.
Me, Dame Judi Dench, I'll be an Elemental or whatever in your Riddick movie.
Yeah, I'll tell Riddick how cool he is. Yeah, sure, fuck
I'll give it 110%.
And also, I do want to point out that Richard E. Grant is feeling stressed out because he's receiving both pressure and kind of strange advice.
Cryptic aphorisms, yeah.
From his boss, played by Roger Moore, who is stroking a different farm animal in every scene.
There's a scene later on where Roger Moore is giving this cryptic, very calm advice while he bottle feeds a pig. And the pig starts squirming in his hands, and he does not let on for a moment that this is going to bother him, that he has a squirming pig in his hands.
That's a pro.
And it's a pro. And it's also one of those roles where you're like, I know they shot all of this in one day on one set. And Roger Moore, like, he probably just walked in, was like, what am I doing? Carrying a rabbit and then feeding a pig? Sure, whatever.
They're like, you have to wear a silk robe. Oh, you're already wearing one? Okay.
And at the very end of the day, he goes,
brought your one from home?
And then it's just, cheers, fellas, and then back to his life, yeah.
Okay, so after this snafu about the Pope, they end up flying to Milan to participate in a photo shoot where they bring in a group of scantily clad men, and the girls object to it. So then they put on different outfits on those men, and Richard E. Grant gets to have a good argument with the Italian director. It's fun.
It's a borderline offensive depiction of an Italian.
I don't think it's offensive to do do that.
But it pays off with men dancing in buttless pants. So everyone's happy.
Yeah, international male catalog quality outfits. Okay, so they fly back. As soon as they land, they end up boarding their tour bus, and the bathrooms on the bus break down. Yep.
So the Milan thing is not related to the Pope thing, right?
It has nothing to do, but it feels weird to happen right after.
Yeah, well, I wonder if at any point they were like, should we make it explicit that they're doing this show in Milan in order to get back in with the Italian audience after offending people about the Pope? And they were just like, do we give a shit? Like, just get them over there. Come on.
So speaking of scenes that I think don't make the most sense, but I still love, so the bathroom on their bus breaks down. Bus driver, played by Meatloaf, will not, he loves the girls, but he won't fix the bathrooms for them.
Yeah. I will do anything for them, but I won't do that.
Yeah.
Huge applause break in the theater.
Yeah,
when
we
he
lost our
delivers that line.
Yeah.
And people are like running around, high-fiving each other.
And if I'm correct, right, this was not the first time Meatloaf played a bus driver in a movie, because he played a bus driver in Leap of Faith with Steve Martin, right? I think that was Meatloaf. So Meatloaf, he's either a musician who loves to play bus drivers or the most talented bus driver in the world.
Don't look up his politics. So the bathrooms break down. The girls go running off into the dark woods to use the bathroom. Of course, at this point, they run into an alien spaceship, which lands. 3 aliens get out. They are clearly there to see the Spice Girls.
Huge Spice Girl fans.
They're huge Spice Girl fans.
They speak an alien language that the Spice Girls don't understand at first and then do understand perfectly.
Right. How would you describe the appearance of these aliens, Dan?
They're little hunched over men, and then they've got a tiny little rubber face in the middle.
There's something kind of space ghoulies about them, yeah.
I would say they're slightly aggressive as far as fans go.
Yeah, I think so. Considering they squeeze, is it Scary Spice's boob, and then demand Ginger kiss one of them on the lips. Yeah, I think it's aggressive fan behavior.
Yeah, but the Spice Girls, handle it with aplomb.
Yeah, they're pros. Okay, so Clifford, their manager, is a little concerned about them talking about these aliens they met. But despite his misgivings, he still has to cancel their morning off, okay? And at this point, you think there's going to be a big fight that the girls are going to be fighting with Clifford, but nope, they turn around, they're like, no, we'll go back to work, we don't care.
It's a little bit like, so the movie is clearly following the pattern of A Hard Day's Night, where it's like, the Beatles are having adventures, they're on the road, they're trying to get away from having to do Beatles stuff. So there's this band, they were insects that through surgery were turned into men. And people were so astounded by the science.
They had mop tops. They were used to clean up floors.
Yeah,
they kind of sound like the Monkees. Are they like the Monkees?
So
they were the British Monkees. That's what they were known as.
Yeah, so when America invented the Monkees, Britain was like, we got to get in on that. And they started with the Beatles. And then the prototype was a bunch of hermits led by a Herman, but they in that one, like they're always trying to get away, and it's as if the Beatles would try to go away for a couple seconds and then be like, no, at heart we're just rule followers, we're not troublemakers, because the Spice Girls always give in.
Okay, so
except for one time, we'll get to it, Stuart.
So despite their disappointment in their day being canceled, they still go to dance instruction with a special drill sergeant dance instructor, Mr. Step, played by Michael Barrymore.
It's interesting.
Another instance of the Spice World curse hitting a real celebrity.
And it's also interesting to see a screening of this in England, where like there are a lot of these stars who are like huge that like we're familiar with. This was very specifically British. There was a huge reaction from the crowd, and I'm like, I don't know what's happening.
I don't know what this is. I don't know if it's a famous person, famous character, if it's a reference to a real thing that happened in politics. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's pull up his Wikipedia page. Oh wow, there's a long section on controversy.
Reminds me of Norm Macdonald's podcast bit where he's learning who Hitler was on the air in real time.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, decorated veteran of the First World War. Ooh, I don't like this. Oh, no, I don't like that.
Okay, so after their dancing...
It feels like that this happens, it's like my wife and I watching a Marvel movie and like Star Fox shows up and I'm like, what? They put Star Fox in a movie? And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
So after their dance instruction, they have to spend the night in a spooky house. While they're in bed, the paparazzo, played by Richard O'Brien, sneaks inside, which would be scary, I admit.
Sneaks in through the toilet, right?
Sneaks in through the toilet like an aforementioned ghoulie.
Like a ghoulie.
Yeah, if Richard O'Brien snuck through my toilet, I'd be scared.
And I would fathom to go as far as, like, if any human being snuck into my house through the toilet, I'd be at the very least surprised.
Yeah.
And probably scared.
After being scared, I'd be like, I love your work,
Yet follow-up was really underrated, the Rocky Horror follow-up. And he'd be like, thank you very much. Anyway, I think I came up through the wrong toilet.
So the spooky house scares the girls. They all end up in the same bed talking about things they're frightened of. And they're all sharing some concerns about the upcoming big show. And at this point, Richard O'Brien records what they say. They have some more bad press that they're scared of their upcoming gig. George Wendt and Mark McKinney then the movie is interspersed with the scenes where George Wendt and Mark McKinney are pitching the Spice Girls as movie stars to Clifford, who is never interested. And this time they pitch Spice Force 5, which is another dream sequence where we get to see what the Spice Girls would be like if they were like secret agents, right? And they all kind of have their own little superpowers. There's some bits. A personal favorite is when Ginger Spice goes into a telephone box and transforms into Bob Hoskins.
She gets in the telephone box, she spins around, Wonder Woman changing costume styles, and turns into Bob Hoskins. And Bob Hoskins, because he is a consummate thespian, acts dizzy as he walks out of the telephone box. He's like, tell me, okay, my character was just spinning around? You got it, I know how to play this, okay.
And when that happens, of course, I'm like, so her superpower is becoming sexier? Bob Hoskins. Okay. So then they have a little visit with some contest-winning kids who ride around on their bus for a little bit. They're a little sick of their situation, so they sneak off the bus with these kids, board a nearby speedboat.
This was very funny to me because it was like, I didn't quite see what was so terrible about the situation. Like the kids were in there, like there's a bunch of candy for the kids, and they're like, "This sucks. We're gonna rush off and get on a speedboat and sing the song, like my lollipop, that I don't know the lyrics.
You sound just like the Spice Girls.
I sound exactly like the Spice Girls.
So Scary Spice, she looks out the window and sees the water and she's like, this is it. When I say go, go. And I thought they were gonna escape out the window, and they just get off the bus the regular way.
The bus.
Just out the door, past Meatloaf, who's like, is this the scene? Oh no, it's later on. Later on they take the bus and Meatloaf goes, my bus, after getting up off the ground for some reason. I don't know, was he camping out next to the bus?
His body, at nighttime, his body dissolves into the ground. Okay, so so they escape with the kids. There's like kind of a boat chase as they sing Lollipop over and over. And then they have to dodge a piece of driftwood, and some kids and some of the girls get in the water. It's a little bit of drama where they're concerned that they might have accidentally drowned some kids.
Pasha's mad that her dress got wet, you know.
Pasha's upset, yeah.
If this movie really had guts, those kids would have drowned. And then spinning headline would have said, Spice Girls kill 2 kids. And then it would move on to the next scene.
The movie lost me when they killed kids.
But Spice World chickened out.
Yeah, have the courage of your convictions.
Yeah.
So, of course, this is more bad press because Richard O'Brien catches them in the act of almost killing kids. All this stress is really getting to Clifford, and at rehearsal, he yells at them, and that leads to the Spice Girls breaking up for kind of reasons. I'm not 100% sure why.
It's unclear why they break up rather than just going on strike. Like, they're not mad at each other, they're mad at him, but he goes, I think I just broke up the Spice Girls. And it's like, at worst, you've lost your job. Like, the Spice Girls still like each other, you know?
Yeah.
So this leads to a sequence, this is where you'd expect, the beginning of the third act or whatever, where the girls are upset, they're in their separate homes, staring out the window, holding a football, lying in the bath, being scary, whatever they're doing. And they have a collective...
Baby Spice is just wetting her diapers.
They have a collective flashback to when they were they were not yet stars, and they're at their friend's coffee shop. Their friend who is an actor who I recognize, but I don't remember
He's
his
in
name.
a lot of stuff. He's in a lot of TV, a lot of movies.
Well, I also thought it was funny that, like, this character, they're like, I wonder whatever happened to him, and there's no payoff.
No, never. He's introduced as if he is a character who is vitally important to their past, and then he is discarded. And it's not like I expected him to come back at Albert Hall. No, that doesn't happen. But here's what I like about the sequence. Okay, other than the fact that I love the idea that they're just like 5 young ladies trying to make it big in the music biz. Like, they came up at school together. They have different accents, but that's okay. I guess they grew up the same. They're all having this flashback together, and the movie is like they're all remembering the same thing. I like to believe they have merged on a psychic level. They now share one pan-conscious Spice mind, and they can call to each other that way because they do call to each other that way. Stu, what happens next?
Well, I also, before you get it, I also love this flashback because it shows what good sports they all are, like how tongue-in-cheek the thing is.
Yeah.
Because it posits this world where they were all friends when they were young, and they all had their bits when they were young.
And she's like, they're like, let's show you our new song. And they sang, what, Wannabe?
Wannabe.
Well, their friend Nicola, who was there pre-pregnancy, and she pops on...
And dressed like a big Madonna fan, like an 80s-style Madonna fan, fingerless lace gloves, big bow in the hair, all that stuff. Yeah.
And they perform Wannabe. It's great. One thing that I found very charming in all the performances is how generally unchoreographed all the dancing seems.
The choreography is light.
Yeah.
And it was, while I don't spend a lot of time usually listening to Spice Girls music, I apologize. It's not a judgment, not a quality judgment. It's literally that, look, like I said, my women's group at the time was Elastica. My women's group now is Adarashi Gakko. I only have time for one ladies group at a time. But they are, it's my choice. I'm not saying don't listen. I'm not saying they're not good. But so I haven't really listened to the Spice Girls lyrics much before this. And I love it. It's like the music is so catchy and the lyrics have just enough meaning to convince you that something is being said in the song. And there are times when I'm like, wait a minute, this verse, it doesn't really make sense with the last verse. And it almost feels like it was written, each verse was written by someone else and they folded the paper over and then handed the next person. Or like someone with dementia who forgot what they said in the song before that. I really like that.
That's poetry, Elliot.
It is poetry.
Your brain fills in the gaps in meaning.
Wow. So you're saying the Spice Girls are Britain's greatest poets?
I'm saying Eazy-E don't come for free. She's a real lady. And as for me, well, you'll see. Slam your body down.
Was that really what you were saying?
That's part of the breakdown to wannabe, yeah.
Oh, I see, yeah.
So,
Dan, what's zig-a-zig-ahing?
If you have to ask, you'll never understand, Elliot.
I mean, I just assumed it was masturbating like this.
Most things are.
So back to present day.
Flashback over. We saw them in their early times. Yeah.
Yeah, so back to present day, the girls meet up outside of the coffee shop, now closed, and they're like, I wonder what happened to that guy again. We'll never know. Wonder what happened to that old ponytailed jazz man who used to serve us coffee. Okay, so they go off to eat chips by the river.
Yep.
Okay, meanwhile, Clifford
that is what they call rivers here. Yep.
Meanwhile, Clifford is drinking his sorrows away. He has basically lost his job. And then his assistant, who up to this point I have not mentioned, Deborah, who is kind of like the grounding agent in this situation. They get drunk together and presumably hook up, right?
Yeah, that's the implication.
Okay.
Well,
I mean, Richard E. Grant is super charming, I guess.
she says something about hooking up to forget their troubles, and he gives her the creepiest smile in the hit. Like, Richard E. Grant briefly becomes a lizard person, and then it just cuts the next scene. So my guess was that they didn't hook up, but maybe they did. I don't know.
So they make the decision, the girls make the decision to reach out to their friend Nicola, who's over a week past due, and they all go to a club. They're like, let's hang out together. Nicola, let's go down and dance. And she's like, no, I'll just watch the five of you dance. That's fine, whatever. It's not quality time, but I'm not gonna cut,
I mean, as the thing is, if she had danced, it might have caused trouble because the little bit of kind of bobbing that she does, it shakes a baby out of her.
Yeah, so she goes into labor, so the girls bundle her onto the Spice bus, forgetting Meatloaf entirely, and drive to the hospital.
So the bus was outside the club. Meatloaf seemingly is lying on the ground outside the club.
Yeah.
No, that's later on. They steal the bus from outside the hospital.
So Meatloaf's just not, I forget, where was Meatloaf?
I think Meatloaf drives them to the hospital.
Oh, yeah, Meatloaf's there at this point.
That's right.
Later on, they have to take
okay.
I got confused.
I'm having trouble remembering all the pieces of the intricate puzzle that is Spice World.
So while at the hospital, they're waiting for Nicola to have the baby. They don't want to leave, even though it means giving up some of their rehearsal time. At one point, they get interrupted by a couple whose child is in a coma. So they...
This scene did not turn the way I thought it was going to turn. Let's crowdsource this for a moment. You see a movie, the Spice Girls are in a hospital. They're told there's a child in a coma. Can you please help us in some way? You expect they're going to sing this kid out of their coma, right? Much as in the movie Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo, where the power of breakdancing brings someone back to life in a hospital. But Stuart, what happens?
So they go over there, and Victoria's like, Jerry, get your boobs out. And she's like, no, and his eyes aren't even open. Kid immediately wakes up from his coma.
She's got resurrection boobs.
Yeah, I get it. Just the promise wakes the kid up. So Nicola has the baby. They, of course, say, now that's real girl power. Everyone gives high fives.
I mean, I do like, because it literally is that is the power that women have, is that no one else has, yeah.
So
the creation of life. Whereas men, all men can do is hang around, waiting for something to happen, and every now and then someone goes like, you're fine, you're okay, right? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Guys, you've never been there when your loved one is having a child. That feeling of, but I'm supposed to be the star of the show. What? Hold on a second, where's my spotlight? And then you're trying to make a baby come out of you and it's not happening, you know?
No, I have 2 cats.
Yeah. Elliot, you were at the bar passing out cigars, right? When your kids were being born?
Yeah. It was in the bar passing out cigars. But that was just because that was my job at the time. I was a cigarette girl at a club.
Yeah.
I had a tray, and I was going, cigars, cigarettes, and then someone was, hey, Elliot, you old ladies giving birth to the baby. And I took off my little round hat and my tray, and I said, gotta go, fellas, and then I ran off.
That's the thing. American healthcare is so bad, he needed to work an extra job. So, meanwhile, around now, Clifford is getting pitched a Spice Girls movie, which is also strange because at this point, he has to assume he lost his job. And they are at this point, Mark McKinney is pitching what is happening on screen.
Yes.
So we see the Spice Girls catch Richard O'Brien in the act of trying to take paparazzi photos. He gets bonked on the head and he changes his evil ways. It's actually pretty fun. I really enjoy this performance.
Another scene where you expect him to be changed by the power of music, the thing the Spice Girls do, but instead it's a short chase through the hall of a hospital, and then he's like, you know what? I shouldn't do this anymore. Yeah.
And then we learn that he goes on to turn around and betray his former employers.
Yes.
They then take the Spice Bus to race to Albert Hall so they can make it in time for their performance. We get some thrills and chills. The girls end up on top of the bus. Victoria's driving, having abandoned Meatloaf on the side of the road.
Chills?
Yeah, that's chilling. They find a bomb under the bus. There's a very good stunt where the bus flies over an opening bridge.
That is a very funny joke where he's like, the bridge is opening, the bus is gonna jump over it, and Richie Grant goes, or George Wendt goes, that sounds expensive. And then they cut to it, and it is a toy bus going stop motion going over like a toy bridge.
And this all leads up to perhaps the best joke in the movie, where like the fantasy that is being spun of this possible Spice Girls movie that happens to coincide with the actual reality, like fully coincides, where he's like, and then they burst through the door, and they all turn to the door as if they expect the Spice Girls to burst through, and Richard E. Grant, after a moment's pause, grabs Mark McKinney by the throat and goes, you lied to me!
Yeah, he straight arms him in like a movie, like a Marvel villain way. It's amazing. So they're in despair. The girls haven't shown up yet. Richard E. Grant spins a fantasy where he will then have the band start up, go out on stage, and then hang himself.
He goes, this is another, after this, the movie at this point is so like, they'll do anything. So the choking moment is really funny, and then he goes, he's talking to Alan Cumming, right? And he goes, I'll simply go out there and have the band start up, and I will come out on stage. And then he pulls out a noose and goes, and kill myself. And it's so, the way he delivers it is so funny.
He's talking about how much he hates the Spice Girls. Of course, at this point, they burst in, and he's like, I love them.
I was going to say, that joke is a rough joke. That's like a hard-edged joke for a movie that is just exploiting the existence of a pop group that young girls particularly like. But the movie still didn't have the guts to kill those two kids earlier.
So
you're gonna have to dock you 2 demerits, Spice World.
On your deathbed, Elliot will be like, oh, Spice World should have killed those 2 children.
And then I'll be like, so much fried chicken I didn't get to eat.
So the girls get there in time. They come out. They perform, Spice Up Your Life. It's great. Everybody's loving it. Everybody's, the world is a better place.
The world is noticeably more spiced up.
And then we have some post-credit stuff where they're like, it's like filming the Spice Girls movie, the Spice World movie.
It's kind of like behind-the-scenes footage.
Uh-huh.
And you see the Spice Girls are talking to people. Richard E. Grant is on the phone with his agent asking if his career is going to survive this movie.
Yeah.
And they're
like staring at the audience through the camera, calling out people. It's great.
They're doing the same bit that Daffy Duck does in the credits of Gremlins 2, where they're like, why are you still around? The movie's over. Get out of here.
But from that Richard E. Grant article that I cited before, the other thing I really loved was the interviewer's like, in the end of the movie, you're shown on the phone with your agent saying, will this kill my career? Like, what did your agent think of you being in the Spice World movie? And he said, well, my agent was very money focused. So when he saw how much money I was being paid, we were all very happy.
But the movie is not really over yet because, right, they say, what is the audience waiting for? Uh-oh, maybe that bomb that we found, and then it explodes off camera, right?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. End of movie.
End of movie. The crowd goes crazy.
The crowd went
It's
nuts.
amazing.
The screening we were at, they were tearing the seats out. They ripped the screen down. It was amazing. Bottles were being thrown through the air.
That movie gave us everything, all the joy it bring. This I swear.
So that was the summary of the movie, Dan. Can we do, what's the next part? Final judgments?
Yeah, final judgments. I think we tipped our hand, but we talk about whether there's a good bad movie, a bad movie, or a movie kind of liked. I liked the movie okay before. I thought it was I did a total 180. I'm like, this movie plays. Especially in a crowd, it was so much fun to watch it. Like, so many laughs, applause breaks.
Yeah, 2 thumbs up. This is a movie I like.
Yeah.
No kinda involved. I liked it.
Movie I liked also, but I'm glad I saw it the way I saw it, like Dan says, with an audience that is super into it. But it makes me, I genuinely am watching it, I was like, oh, so the reviewers didn't realize this is a funny movie? Like, I don't, because it's a very funny movie. It's really funny. Yeah. It is much funnier than you expect from the screenwriter of From Justin to Kelly. So, you know.
If you need a laugh and you're on the go, try STOPPODCASTI.
Were you trying to put the name of the podcast there?
Yeah, I'm trying to spell it, but it's tricky.
Let me give it a try.
Okay.
If you need a laugh and you're on the go, call STOPPPAD. It'll never fit.
No, it will. Let me try. If you need a laugh and you're on the go, try STOPPPDCOO. We are so close.
Stop podcasting yourself.
A podcast from MaximumFun.org.
If you need a laugh and you're on the go.
You can't really know if your own show is any good.
So I asked my kids about ours. Is Jordan Jesse Go a good show?
No, definitely not. It's really bad.
I would say out of 10, maybe like a 4 out of 10.
It's just really boring. Yeah, 0.
Subscribe to Jordan Jesse Go, a comedy show for grown-ups.
Hey, Dan here, breaking in for some quick plugs. Tonight, on this episode's day of release, January the 4th, we will be discussing Ski School 2 on Flop TV, which airs, of course, at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern. That's live when it airs if you want to see us and chat along with other viewers. Tickets at theflophouse.simpletix.com. I'll be handling the summary for this episode. I believe Stuart will be doing the presentation, and Elliot will handle the special report. And, of course, this movie, Ski School 2, after Hot Dog, the movie last year, will fill the important ski-based sex comedy slot in our rundown. We hope to see you there. And remember that season pass holders for Flop TV can watch all of the shows on demand until the end of February. Tickets again at theflophouse.simpletix.com, $7 per show, or get a season pass and pay only $35 for 6 shows. Also, in a mere 15 days, we'll be back in San Francisco at San Francisco Sketchfest. On Sunday, January 19, we'll be at Cobb's Comedy Club at 7 p.m. discussing Cutthroat Island. I am recording this ad break a little ahead of time because of the holidays, but there are probably still tickets available if you want to come see us in person. Go to sfsketchfest.com for tickets. And while I've got you here, please go to flophousepodcast.com and sign up for our newsletter, Flop Secrets, which is the best way to keep up on all of our appearances, side projects, whatever, and to get some extra content just for fun. I drew a little floppy holidays card for all the listeners. That's art straight from me to you. Thank you for listening to us. Just plug your email into the newsletter field on our website at flophousepodcast.com, and you'll get all of the updates every other week. And now, back to our Oxford Spice World show. Checking the time. Ooh. Okay. Yeah.
Dan, don't start checking your mail. What do you?
We're running a little late, so yet again, I'm going to cap the number of questions.
Dan, you're just looking at your texts now. What are you doing?
The first 5.
Dan, don't start playing Candy Crush. What are you doing?
To run to the center. We're going to ask some questions.
Yeah, we're going to ask some questions. there's only a limited amount of time because there's a bomb under the bus. Just kidding, there isn't really.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Daniel Lessner with Held. So when the movie came out, I was like 7, 8 years old, and I distinctly remember that.
Must be nice.
Yeah, flaunting his youth in front of us. Yeah.
Sorry. Everyone had to like pick like a Spice persona. Like my sister was, I think, Sporty Spice, just because she kind of looked like it. And so I'm wondering, have you given this any thought? You know, who's who?
Which of us?
Which spice? What's our spice?
Yeah.
The problem so this was a big topic of conversation backstage.
It was.
Oh.
Who is what spice? The problem is Stuart absorbs a lot of the Spice personalities. He's the baby, he's sporty, he's a little scary.
I don't know. Ginger seems to be really interested in like inane facts and things. I feel like
it doesn't feel natural to her character, but I'll take it, you know.
I looked into this original.
Elliot
and,
often calls me baby boy Dan McCoy, so...
Yeah.
And
I
my
guess
children call you that, which I find adorable.
I'm a little bit posh, a little bit sporty. You know, I'm all things.
Yeah.
A little bit country, a little bit rock and roll. Okay. I guess that doesn't answer your question, so...
Maybe to add, so Ginger Spice was originally meant to be Sexy Spice, but they changed it, so I guess you also have that covered, right?
Oh, bless your heart.
Well, when they
You're just encouraging him.
When they have a Spice Girl who knows her shit about dinosaurs, I'll be that one.
Yeah.
Because that's something Stuart showed to us before this show he does not know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can be Dinosaur Spice. That'd be pretty fun.
That sounds delicious.
It does. I've always wondered, dinosaurs, are they red meat because they're big, or are they white meat because they're chickens?
Yeah. We'll never know.
We'll never know, unfortunately.
Was that a question for me?
Yes.
Yeah, this is the part where we ask you questions.
Yeah.
I'm 6'3" and single, you know. You said something at the start about mushrooms. Can we talk later on?
I mean, I have a connection, but they live in, you know.
It's too far, never mind. Mike, last name withheld. I was actually going to ask about what your spice names would be as well, but I'll pivot. I completely forgot that Richard O'Brien and Michael Barrymore were in this film. Some Strike It Lucky fans at the back. When I was growing up, they were both like really big game show hosts before I knew about Rocky Horror or anything else. Apart from them and Bob Barker, are there any other game show hosts in films that have done really well that you enjoyed?
Game show hosts in films? I mean...
Are there game shows we want to see in films?
I was scrambling for something.
Okay, so that was a good pivot. That was a solid pivot. Okay, game show hosts, I want to say, I don't know of any other game show host. I feel like...
There's the Gong Show movie.
Yeah, but that's about a game show host.
Yeah.
He's not in it, you know. But I wonder if... No, but you know what? So Alex Trebek was in the video for I Lost on Jeopardy, right? The Weird Al song. Is that a movie?
It's not a movie.
No.
Also, the X-Files episode he showed up in is not a movie.
No, that's not a movie either. But Drew Carey, he's the host of Price is Right Now, and he was also on Whose Line Is It Anyway? Is that a movie?
No. None of these are movies. Stuart?
Steve Harvey was in the Steve Harvey Show. Is that a movie?
Steve Harvey is in the original Kings of Comedy, which
That's
is
true.
a movie. Okay.
I mean, I feel like Steve Harvey is such like a big, crazy personality, and like what was it, Miss America or Miss Universe contest that he misread? Like, I love that. He's crazy.
He must have been in a movie at some point. There's got to be one.
Yeah.
Harvey, the movie Harvey.
Yeah,
That's
it was
not
a movie
Steve
Harvey.
This guy, Jimmy Stewart, thinks that Steve Harvey is walking around with him all the time.
Yeah. There's definitely going to be a movie made about, was it Dana Carey's experience at Fish a couple of weeks ago, was it? I don't know if you saw anything about that.
Wait, say again? What?
What's his name? The Price is Right host.
Drew Carey?
Drew Carey.
Yeah.
He went to see Fish at the Sphere a couple of weeks ago. You've not seen anything about
There
that?
could be a movie
I
about
need to
that.
see that. I need to
Look,
see that movie.
I won't hear anything against Drew Carey. You know why? Because when our union was on strike last year, he spent a lot of money on food for us, which was amazing. It was great. He was like, he said, these two restaurants, I'll cover any Writers Guild member's bill. And then afterwards he was like, I didn't think it was going to be that expensive.
Very nice still.
Yeah.
Hey Floppers, number one, dinosaurs.
Cool.
Oh,
A dinosaur shirt.
Sorry, Hey Floppers, hi Peaches. Sorry. So, the Spice Girls were a massively influential girl band. A massively influential boy band was One Direction. when they split up, Harry Styles had a fantastic career as Man in Boat, son of Thanos. If the Spice Girls split up...
Brother of Thanos.
Sorry.
Okay, you know, it's time to get real.
Right, okay.
Let's talk
Brother
about
of
this.
Thanos.
Okay, there's a Lars, also known as Mentor.
Elliot, we got to get out of here at some point.
Okay, baby Thanos. If the Spice Girls split up, which of those do you think would be an effective Marvel character, and who would they play?
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Who would be a good one for them? Trying not to be racist in my choice for Scary Spice.
I feel like Posh could be like an Emma Frost, like aloof.
Yeah, for sure. She could be Emma Frost.
And Emma
Ginger
Frost
Spice.
is like
Ginger Spice is kind of a rogue type. I
Yeah.
can see her being rogue. Let's think of some non-X-Men characters, okay, everybody? They're not making those movies right now. That's a cartoon show. What are the other Spice Girls? Let's see. Baby Spice.
Donner, Blitzen
Spice. Sporty Spice.
I gotta say, this is not related, but when they're dressing up as each other and Sporty is dressing up as Posh, I'm like, she looks a lot like Lady Gaga, who is not a Marvel character. But if she was...
Lady Gaga is a DC character. She's in the new Joker movie.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
I think, yeah, that's a good question because I wish I knew the Spice Girls as well as I know the Marvel characters. Obviously, I don't really wish that. That's it. This is a wish just for this question because the Marvel characters live inside my brain all the time. And I think if the Spice Girls lived inside my brain all the time, I'd never stop dancing, you know? I wouldn't get any work done.
I think that answers the question.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you very
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
I'll think about this for a long time now.
Danny, last name with nail? Not really. My last name's I.
You told us the secret.
Now we have control over him.
So this is probably an obvious comparison, but looking at like Baby Spice's hairdo and the kind of anarchic feminine energy of the movie and the explosion at the end, I was reminded of Vera Kitilova's Czech New Wave film Daisies.
Not the first person on this trip to talk to me about it being like Daisies.
Sorry to pander to
My
Stu.
wife said this last night.
So I guess what other sort of arty, serious films have that kind of shitposting energy?
Interesting.
I mean, like, if you look at the two movies Dolly and Buñuel made together, Un Chien Andalou and L'Âge d'Or, it's very similar, where it's like, this is art. By the way, fuck you. Like, we're going to do crazy things. And let's see, there must be other ones like that, where it's just like, there's a lot of artsy movies where they're like assaulting you. And I feel like the Spice Girls is not assaulting you so much as like grabbing your hand and being like, let's run away somewhere together, you know?
Yeah.
So
Spice Girl, like, it's like a slumber party was turned into a movie, kind of. It's like if at the end of the Spice Girls, like summer at summer camp, they did a skit show about being Spice Girls. Which is part of what's charming about it.
But it's something that you do. It's interesting that it's not a pole to pole thing, but a continuous circle where on one side is art and on the other side is trash. And if you go in either direction far enough, you go back around to the other one. And so, the what? Yeah, exactly. And a movie like this, which is like, let's be honest with ourselves. A Spice Girls movie made at the height of their fame with a script that seems, let's charitably say, thrown together. Like, it should be kind of trivial throwaway stuff the same way that like other movies based on bands or trying to exploit a band's brief popularity usually are. But instead they're like,
Unlike say Cool as Ice or something that still manages to be art.
I wouldn't hear anything bad against Cool as Ice either, but the one David Lynch movie David Lynch didn't direct. But it's like I'll get personal for a second. My son recently had a video assignment for school, and he was like, "Oh, I don't want to do this. I hate doing work. Blah blah blah. I'm going to be a professional baseball player anyway, so why do I have to do this?" And I was like, "Well, hopefully."
Kids still want to be professional athletes. I thought they just wanted to be like YouTubers.
Well, if you could be a professional athlete with a podcast or a YouTube channel, I think that's the sweet spot. But I was like, what you need to do is have fun with this. Like, make this something that's fun, and then you're going to do something really good, and it's going to be better than if you just do this time. And I feel like the Spice World, they were like, let's have fun with this. Like, let's not do the minimum. Like, let's have fun. And whether it's an art movie or a junk movie, if the people making it are not Not one of those things where it's like, we had a blast on the set, and you watch the movie and you're like, what the hell is this? But if they're like, in the creation of this thing, let's have fun challenging ourselves with what we're doing.
We didn't even talk about the like fantasy sequence where Hugh Laurie plays Poirot, and he's like, Baby Spice has been murdering people.
And she's got bullet bandoliers all over her, and she's holding an axe in her hand. Or like with Stephen Fry as the judge who sentences them to being at the bottom of the charts because their new song isn't very good. Like, everyone's having fun in a good way. They're having fun in that way of like, if I'm doing this thing, I'm gonna do it to the utmost. And like, that's when art comes out, guys. That's when you make art.
I have to be, Bad Spice right now and move us along.
Okay. Bad Cop Spice.
Bad Cop Spice.
Yeah.
Hiya, my name is Colin. I hope you don't mind like a very short 1.5 question. Just the first bit is like the two movies you guys talked about, Spice World and The Avengers. The credit sequence really like emblematically represented the movies of like Avengers being like an absolutely horrendous trip of like spirals and upsetting imagery. And then of Spice World, the title sequence really setting up, who the girls are. I was wondering if there's any credit sequences that you guys really love and like really set the movie into a good spin. And second part, this is just for Dan. I'm really sorry to stalk you, but you've got a list on Letterboxd that is 291 movies, and the title is Asploitation, and it features and it features some classics of cruising and female trouble. But what's up with that, my dude?
I have an excellent.
I think the first question, let's set it aside. We don't need to talk about credit sequence.
Yeah, we don't. Well, I don't think.
The first question was to get in the door.
Let's go where the money is. I have an explanation that is not necessarily...
You mean an asplanation?
an explanation that's not necessarily an excuse, which is I follow an Instagram account called Asploitation. That posts funny ass-related movie clips.
It's a goof.
Okay.
It's just goofy. It's a funny joke.
And they have a Letterboxd list that I cloned. So it's not... I didn't compile it. I'm just an appreciator of it.
I love that Dan's explanation was basically yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Dan, I need to spend more time on Letterboxd so I can learn your secrets.
Hello, Tobias, last name withheld. So this was a perfect movie that really represented what it actually means to be in a band, really accurately, perfectly. I just wondered if there were any similarly accurate depictions of like your own professional careers that you can think of in film.
Dan and I were talking yesterday about an American TV show called Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip. This is a show, as Dan's wife Audrey said, if you only know comedy writers, you would think this was the most popular television show in the history of the United States. It aired for one season. It is about a Saturday Night Live TV show, and it is so incredibly inaccurate in every detail.
We've
been talking about it for years.
Comedy writers love this show because it's so bad and gets every single thing wrong. So it's the precise opposite of the question you're asking.
So you buy the premise that the Spice World is a great it really shows you what it's like to be in a band.
Sure. But the weird thing is, like, as silly as Spice World is, I watched it thinking like, this kind of reminds me of being in a podcast with my friends because we do travel together.
We're
to
a lot
places,
like the Spice Girls.
and we have to.
Meatloaf drives our bus, his ghost,
It captures like we'd be friends anyway, but it captures the enforced closeness of touring together in a way that I enjoyed. My answer is Spice World.
I would say the movie Cocktail, starring Tom Cruise and Brian Brown, is not very accurate to being a bartender. I would say the most accurate movie to being a bartender is still Darren Aronofsky's Mother, the movie where she's like in this house and like people just keep coming in. They're like sitting on things and breaking shit, and you're like, God damn it.
That scene where she's like, please don't sit on the sink, it's fragile, and they get off, and every time she turns around, they hop back on it. That's the scariest scene in the history of filmmaking.
That is what being a bartender is like. That is my bartending stress dreams. Yeah, so that's that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe that the name of that movie is Mother.
Hi, my name's Alex. Last name withheld. And this isn't Spice Girl related, but it is a question I wanted to ask you guys for ages because you are Muppet experts. And
Dan is, yeah, sure.
And I love all the Muppets, but one of my favorite types of Muppet is one that I would describe as, and I want to make this term official, a goober. And a goober is something that is not one of the human type Muppets, is not one of the discernible animal types. I would put like Gonzo in that, as well as like the little guy in Muppets Christmas Carol, where it's on the screen for like 2 seconds and I pause every single time I watch that film. It's like a little I love that guy. But if you were to say what your favorite goober was that wasn't a Muppet, what would you say?
I don't know if it's my favorite, but the one that immediately comes to mind is like they're like those Muppets that are kind of like pink slinkies, basically. And then at the end of the scenario, as happens with a lot of Muppet things, it blasts the other one off the screen. Like so many Muppet sketches end in an explosion. They're like, well, it's done now. Something will blow up.
I remember
like
reading,
Spice World.
Reading an interview. Yeah, I remember reading an interview with Frank Oz, I think, where he's like, "Yeah, pretty much. If we didn't know to end the thing, then they either blew up or one of them ate the other one." I'm gonna stretch the rules because it's not an official question on a government document or something like that. But Jim Henson was involved in developing these at some point. I'm gonna say in Return of the Jedi, there's that little guy who zaps his tongue out and eats another thing and then burps, and it's such a funny moment to include. What? Yeah.
He rules,
he's he's the second best character in Return of the Jedi after Salacious Crumb, of course.
He is a goober. Salacious Crumb is a goober.
Superstar goober, yeah. But I love that they took the time to do it because it's one of those things like a lot of work went into that, and it's on screen for just a moment. It doesn't matter to the plot. It's just a silly thing to have happen, but it makes you feel like you are on a world where silly things happen.
Yeah, I just love how that burp echoes. It's like, damn, what's that guy been drinking?
Thank you.
Thank you. These are good questions. This is a great audience and good questions. We really appreciate you coming out tonight when you could be doing other stuff, I guess. England, it's full of a lot of late night towns, places people hang out really late at night and do stuff at night, yeah. Like Batman does stuff. Is Batman
We got one more question.
Damn it.
It's all right, you can let him go.
I don't want to anger the venue.
So Kolchak the Night Stalker, that was an England thing, right?
Yep.
Okay, yes, so what's the question? I'm just irritating Dan now, yeah.
Hi, James, last name withheld. Before we came out, I read the Wikipedia article on Spice World, which is surprisingly long, mostly because of the cast list. And it did say on there that there is plans to do a sequel, which is going to be animated, and they're all going to be superheroes. So my question is, if this does happen, what powers do you think they'll have? And will you be disappointed if one of them isn't turning into Bob Hoskins?
I would definitely be disappointed if Ginger's power was not turning into Bob Hoskins, yeah.
I love it. Man. So, Scary Spice is scary.
So Scary Spice, she's got like she's like the shadow. She's got like a voice that can strike fear into people's hearts.
No, that's good.
Because the instinct is to go physical. She beats people up. No, it's all mental. It's all vocal.
And Baby's power is she can hide inside of people's stomachs.
Yeah. For up to 9 months at a time. Not technically a stomach, but if that, and let's see.
Wait, really?
The baby's not in the mother's stomach.
No?
No, well, we'll talk about this later, Stuart. They should have taught you this in school, but okay, let's see. Posh Spice, you could go the Batman route. She's super rich. She buys herself all sorts of fancy stuff.
Iron Man suit or something, yeah.
Yeah,
Ginger can combine with honey and lemon to soothe people's throats.
That's true. That just leaves Sporty, who I guess,
Sporty
I don't know, telepathy, can fly.
No, Sporty Spice has fire powers, Stuart. Fire powers. Because then she can do flips and leave fire footprints behind.
I know I said we got to get out of here, but why does fire powers lead to flips?
No. The fire powers don't lead to flips. She can do the flips already. She's Sporty Spice, and she leaves fire footprints behind. And she flips and kicks the guy in the face, and his face catches on fire.
It all checks out. I can't argue with that.
No, actually, that's pretty well thought out. I like it. Okay, thank you so much.
I just want to say one last thing.
Thank you.
I won't even say it. Forget it.
So much for having us. Thank you. It's been
This has been a dream. We've always wanted to come over here, and you guys have been so lovely.
Yeah. We hope to come back someday, but until then, I have been Dan McCoy.
I've been Stuart Wellington.
And I will always be Elliot Kalin, no matter how hard I try. Thank you very much for being here.
again.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming out and not going to see Furiosa tonight. I know that's a sacrifice that we're all making.
Does that open the same night here as it does in the United States?
I think so. I don't know. Just for the assumption of my joke, just go along with it, dude.
Sorry.
Yes, and me for a change.
That's not what we do, Stuart.
Maximum Fun.
A worker-owned network
Of artist-owned shows.
supported
directly
by you.